My name is Thomas Bennett, and I'm 61 years old now. This story happened 3 years ago, on what started as an ordinary Tuesday morning in November. I was sitting in my usual corner booth at Morrison's Cafe, the place I'd been coming to for my morning coffee for the better part of a decade. I'd built my consulting business from nothing, starting in my early 30s after years of working, my way up through various corporations. By the time this story takes place, I'd done well for myself. Very well, if I'm being honest. I had the nice house, the luxury car, the investment portfolio. I traveled first class and stayed in fine hotels. But somewhere along the way, in the pursuit of success, I'd become isolated. My marriage had ended 15 years earlier. My 2 sons were grown and lived on opposite coasts, busy with their own lives. I saw them maybe twice a year if I was lucky. So most mornings I sat alone in that cafe, reading the financial news on my tablet, drinking expensive coffee, and not really connecting with anyone around me. The staff knew my order by heart, but we rarely exchanged more than pleasantries. I'd become one of those people who exist in their own bubble, barely noticing the world spinning around them. That particular morning, rain was streaking down the windows, creating patterns against the gray November sky. The cafe had that warm, cozy feeling that made you grateful to be inside. I was reviewing some contracts for a client when I became aware of a small presence near my table. I looked up to find a little girl standing there, maybe 5 or 6 years old. She had blonde hair pulled into 2 braided pigtails with pink ribbons, and she wore a tan jacket over a red dress. Her pink sneakers had mud on them from the rain outside. But what caught my attention most was what she was holding. A stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. One of its ears was hanging by a thread, and stuffing was coming out of a seam along its side. "Mister," she said in a small voice, "can you fix my toy?" I glanced around looking for a parent or guardian. At a table near the window, I spotted a woman who looked to be in her mid-30s, watching us with an expression that mixed hope and exhaustion. She gave me an apologetic look but didn't call the child back. I turned my attention back to the little girl. "I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask," I said, trying to be gentle. "I don't really know much about fixing stuffed animals." Her blue eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back bravely. "Please, mister. It was our last gift from Dad." Something in those words stopped me cold. The way she said was rather than is. The weight behind that simple sentence. I set down my tablet and looked at her more carefully. "What happened to your rabbit?" I asked. "His name is Flopsy," she said, holding the toy up so I could see better. "My daddy gave him to me and my sister before he went to heaven. Emma's only 3, and she doesn't understand that we have to be careful with him. She pulled his ear when we were playing yesterday, and now he's breaking apart." She said it with such seriousness, such grown-up concern for her younger sister's understanding. This child had learned about loss too young, and it showed in every word. "What's your name?" I asked. "Lily," she said. "That's my mama over there. She's trying to find work. She has interviews all morning, and the lady at the office said we could wait here if we're quiet." I glanced again at the woman by the window. Now that I looked more closely, I could see she was dressed in what was probably her best outfit, though it had seen better days. She had a folder of papers in front of her and was making notes, checking her watch periodically. She looked tired in a way that went deeper than just lack of sleep. "Well, Lily," I said, surprising myself, "I can't fix Flopsy myself, but I might know someone who can. There's a seamstress shop 2 blocks from here. If your mother says it's okay, maybe we could take him there." Lily's face lit up with such pure hope that it actually hurt to look at. When was the last time I'd seen anyone look at me like that? When was the last time I'd offered to help someone without expecting anything in return? Lily ran back to her mother, and I could see them having a conversation. The woman looked over at me with understandable wariness. I was a stranger in an expensive suit, offering to help her daughter. I understood her caution. But after a moment, she gathered her papers and came over to our table with Lily and another little girl who must have been Emma. "I'm Rebecca Carter," she said, extending her hand. "I'm sorry if Lily bothered you. She's been so worried about that rabbit." "No bother at all," I said, standing to shake her hand. "I'm Thomas Bennett. I was just telling Lily that there's a seamstress shop nearby that might be able to repair Flopsy. I'd be happy to take you there if you have time." Rebecca hesitated, glancing at her watch. "I have a job interview in 40 minutes across town. I can't really afford to miss it." "Then let me take Lily," I said. then quickly added when I saw her expression, "Or you could come with us quickly. And I could give you a ride to your interview after. I have a car and the seamstress is just around the corner." It was a bold offer, perhaps too bold, but something about this family had touched something in me that had been dormant for a long time. Rebecca studied my face, clearly weighing her options and her instincts. "Why would you help us?" she asked directly. "You don't know us." It was a fair question. "Honestly, I'm not entirely sure," I said. "But your daughter asked me for help and I think I can provide it." Sometimes that's reason enough. After another long moment, Rebecca nodded. "Okay, but we all go together." The seamstress shop was run by an elderly woman named Mrs. Chen, who had been mending clothes in that neighborhood for 40 years. She took one look at Flopsy and then at Lily's anxious face and smiled warmly. "This is a very special rabbit," Mrs. Chen said. "I can see that. He needs careful work. Can you leave him with me for a few hours? I promise I'll take very good care of him." Lily looked torn, clutching Flopsy tighter. Rebecca knelt down beside her daughter. "Remember what we talked about, sweetheart? Sometimes we have to let things go temporarily so they can be made better. Flopsy will be safe here." "Will it hurt him?" Lily asked Mrs. Chen seriously. "The fixing?" "Not at all," Mrs. Chen assured her. "He won't feel a thing. And when you come back, he'll be almost as good as new." Reluctantly, Lily handed over the rabbit. I paid Mrs. Chen for the repair work, waving off Rebecca's protests. "Consider it a gift," I said. "Now we should get you to that interview." In the car, Rebecca sat in the front passenger seat while the girls were buckled into the back. Little Emma chattered away about her toys in the rain, while Lily remained quiet, clearly worried about Flopsy. "Where are we headed?" I asked Rebecca. She gave me an address for an office building downtown. As I drove, she gradually began to share her story. Her husband, David, had been a firefighter. 3 years ago, he died in the line of duty, saving people from a burning apartment building. Rebecca had been left with 2 small children, some life insurance that had slowly been depleted, and a mountain of medical bills from David's final days in the hospital. "I've been working part-time jobs," she said quietly, "but with childcare costs, it's almost not worth it. I'm trying to find something with better hours and benefits, something that will let me support the girls properly." "What kind of work are you looking for?" I asked. "Administrative assistant, office manager, anything really. I have a degree in business administration, but I haven't worked in that field since Lily was born. Most places want recent experience." I thought about that as I drove. Here was an educated, clearly intelligent woman who was struggling not because she lacked ability, but because life had dealt her an impossibly difficult hand. How many others were in the same situation? We arrived at the building with 10 minutes to spare. Rebecca thanked me profusely and started to get out, then paused. Would you mind waiting with the girls? Just during the interview? I know it's a lot to ask, but I don't have anyone else, and I can't take them in with me." It was a lot to ask. I had meetings scheduled, calls to return, but looking at her desperate, hopeful face, I found myself nodding. "Of course. We'll be right here when you're done." For the next hour, I sat in my car with 2 little girls I'd met less than 2 hours ago. Emma fell asleep almost immediately, worn out from their early morning. But Lily stayed awake, looking out the window. "Do you think Mama will get the job?" she asked. "I hope so," I said honestly. "She's really smart," Lily said loyally. "And she works really hard. She stayed up all night practicing what she would say." "I'm sure she'll do great," I told her. "Do you have kids, mister?" Lily asked. "I have 2 sons, but they're grown up now. They live far away. Do you miss them?" The simple question hit me harder than it should have. Did I miss them? I saw them so rarely that missing them had become a constant, dull ache I'd learned to ignore. "Yes," I said, "I do. Maybe you should tell them that," Lily said wisely. "My daddy used to say that love isn't love if you don't share it." Out of the mouths of children. This little girl who had lost her father understood something I'd forgotten somewhere along my climb to success. When Rebecca finally emerged from the building, I could read the disappointment on her face before she even reached the car. She slid into the passenger seat and let out a long breath. "They went with someone with more recent experience," she said, her voice carefully controlled. "They were very nice about it, but the answer was still no." I didn't say anything for a moment. Then, surprising myself again, I asked, Would you and the girls like to get some lunch? My treat. It's the least I can do after you spent your morning with a stranger. Rebecca looked like she wanted to refuse, pride warring with practicality. Finally, she nodded. That would be nice. Thank you. We went to a family-friendly restaurant, nothing fancy but clean and welcoming. Emma woke up and was delighted by the mac and cheese, while Lily carefully ate her chicken tenders, still worried about Flopsy. Over lunch, I learned more about Rebecca's situation. She was 2 months behind on rent. The car she'd been driving had finally died completely last week, which was why they'd taken the bus to the cafe that morning. She was applying for any job that might provide stability for her daughters. I'm not looking for charity, she said firmly. I just need a chance. One real opportunity to prove what I can do. Something was forming in my mind. An idea that seemed crazy, but also somehow absolutely right. What if I told you I might know of a position? I said. My consulting business has been growing, and I've been thinking about hiring an office manager. Someone to handle scheduling, client communications, paperwork. It would be full-time with benefits. Rebecca stared at me. Are you serious? Completely. I realize we've only just met, but sometimes you can tell about people. You're organized, articulate, clearly responsible. And frankly, anyone who can manage 2 young children, while job hunting and dealing with everything you're dealing with has executive-level multitasking skills. I don't know what to say, Rebecca said, her eyes filling with tears. I can't tell if this is really happening or if I'm dreaming. It's really happening, I assured her. Why don't you come by my office tomorrow? We can discuss details, salary, benefits, all of it. No pressure. If it doesn't feel right for either of us after we talk, no hard feelings. After lunch, we went back to pick up Flopsy. Mrs. Chen had worked miracles. The rabbit's ear was securely reattached, the torn seam carefully mended. Lily hugged the toy to her chest with such joy that even Mrs. Chen's eyes got a little misty. Thank you, Lily said to me as we prepared to part ways. Thank you for helping fix our last gift from Daddy. She hugged me then. This little girl I'd only met a few hours ago, and something inside my chest that had been frozen for years began to thaw. I drove Rebecca and the girls home to their small apartment in a neighborhood that had seen better days. As they got out, Rebecca turned to me. Why are you doing all this? She asked. The truth. I thought about it. Because your daughter asked me for help, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt like I could actually make a difference in someone's life. Not by writing a check or making a donation, but by actually showing up, being present. Maybe I needed that as much as you needed the help. Rebecca came to my office the next day, and we talked for 2 hours. She started working for me the following week. It turned out she was exactly what my business needed. She brought organization to my chaos, warmth to my sterile office environment, and a perspective I'd been missing. But more than that, she and her daughters brought something back into my life that I'd lost. Connection. Purpose beyond just accumulating wealth. Lily and Emma would sometimes come to the office after school. When childcare fell through, they'd do homework at the conference table or draw pictures that Rebecca would pin up on the bulletin board. I started calling my own sons more often, actually talking to them about their lives instead of just exchanging pleasantries. I flew out to visit them, met my grandchildren who I'd barely known. I started to rebuild those relationships I'd let atrophy. That was 3 years ago. Rebecca still works for me, though her title is now Director of Operations, because her role has grown as the business has grown. She and the girls moved to a better apartment, then eventually to a small house. Lily is 9 now and Emma is 6. Flopsy still sits on Lily's bed. A reminder of her father and of the day a stranger in a cafe decided to help. I'm not telling this story to paint myself as some kind of hero. I'm not. I'm just a man who was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, and who was reminded by a little girl that the most important things in life aren't found in financial statements or business deals. They're found in small moments of connection, in choosing to help when help is needed, in being present for the people around us. Sometimes I think about that morning and how easily it could have gone differently. I could have told Lily no, that I was too busy, that her broken toy wasn't my problem. I could have gone back to my tablet and my coffee and my isolated life, and I would have missed out on one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. The reminder that we're all connected, that we all need each other, and that sometimes the person we help the most is ourselves. Lily's words that day changed everything. It was our last gift from Dad. She wasn't just asking me to fix a toy. She was asking me to help preserve a memory, to honor a love that continued even after loss. She was asking me to care, and I'm so grateful that I finally said yes. These days, I'm still successful in business. I still have my nice house and my comfortable life. But now I also have Rebecca and her daughters as part of my extended family. I have regular dinners with them, attend school plays and soccer games. I've even taught Lily how to play chess, and she's getting quite good at it. Last month, on the anniversary of David's death, we all went together to the memorial park where his name is inscribed, along with other fallen firefighters. Lily held Flopsy, now a bit worn again, but still intact, and told her father about the kind man who had helped fix his last gift to her. "I think Daddy sent you to us that day," she said to me, holding my hand. "I think he knew we needed help and he sent us an angel in a fancy suit." I'm no angel, but maybe that's the point. We don't have to be angels to make a difference. We just have to be willing to pause, to listen, to care. We have to be willing to say yes when a child asks for help, even if it's inconvenient, even if it doesn't fit into our schedule, even if it means stepping outside our comfortable bubble. Because you never know when a broken toy and a little girl's request might change your entire life. And I can honestly say that on that rainy Tuesday morning in November, when Lily walked up to my table in Morrison's cafe, she didn't just ask me to fix her toy. She asked me to fix myself, to remember what it meant to be human, to be connected, to be alive in a way that mattered. And somehow, through the simple act of saying yes, I did.